Hello students, welcome to a brand new session of learning. Today we are about to begin the first lesson in Unit 1 from the textbook First Flight, which is A Letter to God written by G.L. Fuentes. G.L. Fuentes was a Mexican novelist, poet and journalist. He also worked as a first mate on the ship of the famous American writer Ernest Hemingway. Now, they say faith can move mountains, but what should we put our faith in? This is the question that this story delicately poses. Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho's letter reach God? Does God send him the money? Now, you think about what your answers to these questions would be and guess how the story continues before we begin to read it. Now, here is a money order form. Money orders were used a lot, say 30 to 40 years ago, when people needed to send money to their friends, relatives, and family members, and it was the fastest way they could send money, and also accompanied by a short message. For example, at the birth of a child, or when somebody wanted to wish someone and give them some money, these money order forms were used. These money order forms are still available at post offices. You could go to a post office and send a small amount to a friend of yours so that you understand how this concept works. There are three parts in a money order form. The money order form, the part for official use that is used by the post office people, and the acknowledgement. So, you could go to a post office and see how you could send money to a friend or a relative. Now to begin with the lesson. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn, dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing but see the sky towards the northeast. Now, we're really going to get some water, woman. The woman who was preparing supper replied, Yes, God willing. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, Come for dinner. Now, here, children, we can see that, uh, first of all, that Lencho lived in a house which was the only one in that entire valley. And that house sat on the crest. The meaning of crest is the top of a hill. And from that vantage point, he could see the river, he could see the field of ripe corn with wonderful flowers. And looking at the flowers, he knew that he would have a very good harvest. But what was needed at that moment was a downpour. A downpour is heavy rain, a shower of rain. And the whole morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, that means he knew his fields very closely. The whole morning he kept looking at the sky towards the northeast because that was from where he was looking for the clouds that would bring rain. And when he looked at the sky, he realized that they would be getting a very good shower of rain. So he told his wife, who was busy with the getting supper ready, he told her that they would be getting some water, and his children, the older boys, were working in the field and the younger ones were playing near the house till his wife called all of them to come in and have dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, that means before the rain came, Lencho had already told his wife that they would be getting a good shower of rain. Big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body, and when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives." So, just as they had their dinner, Lencho realized that it had begun raining, and so he went out of his house and he saw huge mountains of clouds. The air was fresh and sweet, and he could feel the rain on his body. But he exclaimed with joy. Looking at the raindrops, he said, "Oh, the smaller raindrops are 10-cent pieces, and the big drops are 10-cent pieces, and the little ones are 5 cents." So, with a very satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers, draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Now, just as Lencho had gone there in order to feel the first rain, and he was very happy, he exclaimed. But he was very, very satisfied when he looked at his field with ripe corn and its flowers draped in rain. But then a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain came large hailstones, and they began falling. They truly resembled silver coins, and his sons also, wanting to experience the wonder of the rain, ran out and began collecting the frozen pearls. "It's really getting bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." It did not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white as if covered with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons. Here we can see that as Lencho went out of the house, got wet in the rain, his sons also followed him out and began collecting the hailstones. But he realized that this was not going to pass very soon. It was a storm, and with that storm came the hailstones. And this continued for almost an hour. The hail rained on the house, on the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, and everything was covered. Not only the whole valley, the field was white, covered as if it was covered with salt. There was not a leaf on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants, and he was terribly sad. When the storm had passed, he stood there and told his sons that had a plague of locusts come, they would have left a little more than what was standing in the field. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We will all go hungry this year. So, what began with excitement, what began with real joy when the rain came, turned to utter sadness when Lencho realized that although he had expectantly waited for the rain, now that the storm had come and brought with it hailstones, there was nothing left in the field, and so he told his family and his children that he was extremely sad. He said that we have worked so hard and now we have nothing left. So all of us will have to go hungry this year. Let us read on further. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house. Now, the meaning of the word solitary is it was the only house there in the middle of the valley. There was a single hope, help from God. Don't be upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. So here we can see Lencho talking to his family, even though he was exceedingly sad and he didn't know what to do. But in the midst of that sad and sorry situation, he remembered one thing, that when there was no help from, like when he couldn't see help coming from anywhere, then he realized that he had faith in God. And so he thought that he told his children and his wife, don't be so upset. Even though everything seems to be a total loss, remember, no one will die hungry, because those who put their faith in God will be rewarded. So all through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter, which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. So, when Lencho saw that he had no hope left in his hard work and in the work of his children, he realized that the last course of help was to put his faith and trust in God, and that was what he did. He also remembered that as he had learned, he has been instructed in his religion, he realized that with the help of God, he could, all things could be set right. He knew that God sees everything, even what was deep in one's heart, in one's conscience. If Lencho was an ox of a man, that means he was a very strong and hardworking man. But in spite of that, he knew how to read and write, because many farmers are uneducated people. And since he was educated, he decided that he had faith in God, so he would write God a letter. So, God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstorm. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. So here, uh, Lencho had already decided in his mind what he was going to do. He decided on his course of action. He thought, since I can read and write, I will write a letter to God. And with this plan in mind, the following Sunday, when it was early morning, he began to write a letter. He wrote, God, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry. I need 100 pesos in order to buy seeds, in order to sow my field again, and to have enough left over in order to survive till the next crop comes, because the hailstorm has destroyed everything. And then he addressed the letter to God. He put the letter inside and put stamps on it and put it into the mailbox. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showing him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable. Now here, after putting the letter in the mailbox, it was found, when the postman went, one of the employees, that is the postman, went through the mail, he found this very unique letter. And why was it unique? Because no one else ever addressed a letter to God, and this was the first time he came across a letter with the address to God. And so, in a very amused manner, he took this letter to the postmaster. The postmaster was a fat, amiable, that means he was very friendly and a pleasant man. He broke out laughing, but almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, what faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. Starting up a correspondence with God. So, when the postman took this, in a very amused fashion, he took it to the postmaster. Both of them had a good laugh. But when the postmaster opened the letter and saw what it contained, he he exclaimed and said, wow, what great faith! This man has written a letter to God. Imagine starting a correspondence with God. So, in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea: answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that in order to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill, ink, and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos, so he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope, addressed it to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature: God. So here we can see that when the postmaster opened, decided that he would surely answer this man's letter. And so he opened it, and when he read it, he realized that he needed something more than just ink and something more than just goodwill and paper. He needed money because Lencho had asked God for money. So he came up with a novel plan. He went and spoke to all the employees at the post office, and he told them that here is such faith. He was pleased at the faith of the man, and he didn't want this man disappointed. So he told all of them that why don't we all contribute and give something towards answering Lencho's appeal to God. And all of them began, they decided to give money, and all of them contributed. The postmaster himself gave a portion of his own salary. All the employees gave whatever they thought they were willing to give. Not only that, since that was not, it was inadequate, it was insufficient to meet Lencho's demand. He also asked a few of his friends to contribute and to give as an act of charity. In spite of all that they did, they were unable to collect 100 pesos. And so they decided that they had collected 70 pesos. They thought that was good enough. And they decided, they put the money inside an envelope and wrote, put also a note saying God. So that means Lencho was to take that this was an answer from God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write, with much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. Now, here we can see that after Lencho posts a letter, he waits for about a week and comes back to the post office a week later, looking for a reply. So when Lencho came earlier than usual to see if there was a letter for him from God, it was the same postman who first found Lencho's letter. So that postman gave him the answer to his letter, and at the same time, he experiences great satisfaction. Contentment means satisfaction because he knew that he had done a good deed, and so did all the other employees of the post office. But Lencho was not in the least surprised to receive a letter from God. That was his unshakable confidence in God. But when he opened the letter envelope and looked inside, he got a little angry because he had asked for 100 pesos, but here the amount was only 70. He thought that God would never have denied him what he had requested. And so he decided to write back to God again. And so he went to the window and asked for paper and ink. And then with a lot of thinking, he kept on thinking, what should I write? And at the end of it, he wrote something back to God again. And what was that? The moment he closed that envelope with a blow of his fist and he dropped the letter into the mailbox. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went in order to open it, as they were very eager to see what Lencho had written to God again. And the letter said, it said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Signed by Lencho. So, as we can see that after Lencho receives the money, he feels that God, his faith made him think that God could not have denied him. He asked for 100 pesos and God had sent him the 100 pesos. But the employees of the post office were the ones, they were a bunch of crooks and they were the ones who had taken away the 30 pesos that rightfully belonged to him. And so he wrote another letter to God demanding those 30 pesos all over again. And he also said that don't send me the money through the post office, as these people are a bunch of crooks. So children, what do we understand from this lesson? What kind of values do we are inculcated in us because of this lesson? As we can see, Lencho is a very simple man. He's a farmer. He's very hardworking. He does not expect anything from anyone. But when his crops fail, his unshakable faith in God tells him that when he is in trouble, he can go to God and ask for help. And when he gets an answer, he realizes that God has helped him. But what he does not believe in, what he does not have, he has complete faith in God, but he does not trust the other people around him. So, what we can see is that it is good for us to have faith in God, but what we also need to have is also to have faith in our fellow human beings, because when God helps us, God always helps us through other people around us. So when we have faith in God, there is also another dimension to that. We also need to have faith in the people who are around us. We must not lose hope and faith in people around us. There may have been some situations where somebody or the other may have cheated Lencho, and that is why he considers the people in the post office as a bunch of crooks. Well, students, I do hope you have understood this lesson well. Now, I'd like to give you a few instructions regarding the whole of this year. First of all, we will be doing the main course book, we'll be doing the supplementary reader, and we will also be doing a little bit of extra grammar that you would require in case you are giving the Olympiad exam. So, I would like you to maintain a 200 pages notebook and write down the question answers of the lesson, that is thinking about the text. The oral comprehension check that is there, that is just for you to be able to answer orally. So now I will go through these question answers and all the exercises that are there after this. And in case you have any doubts, then you can contact me through the WhatsApp group. Okay, so the first question, who does Lencho have complete faith in, and which sentences tell you this? Now, Lencho's situation is terrible. He works very hard with his family members and yet he loses everything. But he has complete faith in God. And the sentences in the lesson that tell us this is, he tells his family, don't be upset. Even though this seems like a total loss, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say, no one dies of hunger. So this is regarding question 1. Now question 2. Why does the postmaster send money to Lencho? And why does he sign the letter God? In this, we can see that when the postmaster reads Lencho's letter, he is very surprised and impressed by Lencho's faith in God. And since he was a very kind-hearted man, He didn't want Lencho to feel let down or have his faith shaken. And so he collects this money. He himself gives a part of his salary and uh, asks all his employees to contribute, and that is how he gives the money. He doesn't want his faith shaken, and so he signs there as God. Did Lencho try to find out who had sent the money to him? Why or why not? No, as you know in the story, Lencho doesn't try to find out who has sent the money, because according to him, it is God who has sent the money. He didn't have any doubt regarding that. And that is the reason why he does not try to find out who has sent him the money, because he thinks it is God who has sent the money. Question number 4. Who does Lencho think has taken the rest of the money, and what is the irony in this situation? Now, what is irony first of all? It's a figure of speech. It's a figure of speech where, you have an unexpected aspect. Suppose you have a friend who studies very hard the whole year, and he doesn't come first in the class, but somebody who has been very average and has been having a nice time the whole year. Suppose that person has to get the first rank in the class, then what would you call that? You would call it very ironical. So in this same thing, in this situation, what do we see? That it is not it is not God, but the people in the post office who have contributed in order to give Lencho and help him out in this time of need. And Lencho, instead of trying to find out or even thank them, here thinks that they are the ones who have robbed him of the 30 pesos. So it is a very ironical or a very amusing situation. Are there people like Lencho in the real world? What kind of a person would you say he is? And we may select words from this in order to answer the question. So, yes, there could be people like Lencho in this world. He had a very unquestioning faith in God. That means unshakable faith in God. And he was naive. That means he was a very simpleton kind of a person. He was naive enough to write a letter to God and stupid enough to think that his letter would reach God. He was not greedy, but he was worried that his family would starve due to the destruction caused by the hailstones. So he wanted his family to survive the starvation they were going to face. He was not selfish or ungrateful for the money, but he felt that had sent him the entire amount he had asked for, and God had not sent less. That is why the situation is very comical. There are two kinds of conflicts in this story, between humans and nature and between humans themselves. How are these conflicts illustrated? Now, first of all, between humans and nature, there is a real conflict, as we can see in every natural disaster. When natural disasters take place, like the one that happened in this story, the storm and the hailstones destroyed everything, means not only all the crop, but all his hope was dashed to the ground. And the second kind of conflict is between humans, that Lencho had a very unshakable faith in God, but he had absolutely no faith in people around him, in other human beings. And these conflicts are illustrated um, in the fact that the hailstones destroyed the field, and second is that he thought God sent him 100 pesos, but it was these bunch of crooks at the post office who had stolen his money. Now, thinking about the language, the first thing is looking at the sentences in the story. There are words given here which are gale, whirlwind, cyclone, hurricane, tornado, and typhoon. So they've given you fill in the blanks, and these are different names in different parts of the world for storms depending on their nature. So the first one, a violent tropical storm in which strong winds move about in a circle, is a cyclone. Then an extremely strong wind is a gale. A violent tropical storm with very strong winds is a typhoon. A violent storm whose center is a cloud in the shape of a funnel is a tornado. The fifth one, a violent storm with very strong winds, especially in the western Atlantic Ocean, is a hurricane. And the last one, a very strong wind that moves very fast in a spinning movement and causes a lot of damage, is a whirlwind. Now we go to notice how the word hope is used in these sentences from the story. I hope the hailstorm passes very quickly. Now here, hope is an action. It's the act of hoping, and so it's a verb. In the second sentence, there was a single hope. That means help from God. That it was a thing. Now a thing is always a noun. So let us match the sentences in column A with the meanings of hope in column B. In the first one, will you get the subjects you want to study in college? It is wanting something to happen and thinking that it's quite possible you will get those subjects in college. The second one, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but I don't like the way you are arguing. That is showing concern that what you say should not offend or disturb the other person. It's a way of being polite. The third one, this discovery will give you a new hope, give a new hope to HIV or AIDS sufferers, is a feeling that something good will probably happen. Number 4, we were hoping against hope that the judges would not notice our mistakes. Now that is wishing that something that is very unlikely would happen. Number 5, I called early in the hope of speaking to her before she went to school, is number B, that is thinking that this would have happened. And the last one, just when everybody had given up hope, the fishermen came back 7 days after the cyclone. And that is when they stopped believing that this good thing would happen, that it happened. Then next, let us go to relative clauses. These sentences, all morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, looked at the sky. Now the word who in the first sentence and second sentence, who knew his fields intimately, who was preparing supper, these are relative clauses. Now, they begin with a relative pronoun who. The relative clauses are called non-defining because we already know the identity of the person. In the first sentence it is Lencho and in the second sentence it is the woman. So it's a non-defining clause. Then a non-defining clause has a comma in front of it and a comma after it, as in the story. So let us join these sentences given below using who, whom, whose, which as they have suggested in the sentence. I often go to Mumbai. Mumbai is the commercial capital of India. So how do we join these sentences? I often go to Mumbai, which is the commercial capital of India. Now we do not write Mumbai twice, because in place of Mumbai we say which is the commercial capital of India. So it is unnecessary to use Mumbai twice. Then the second sentence, my mother is going to host a TV show on cooking. She cooks very well. So the sentence will go as my mother, who cooks very well, is going to host a TV show on cooking. The third sentence, these sports persons are going to meet the president. Their performance has been excellent. So we will rewrite the sentence as these sports persons whose performance has been excellent are going to meet the president. The next sentence, Lencho prayed to God. His eyes see into our minds. Whose? So we will join both these sentences with the relative clause. Lencho prayed to God. Lencho prayed to God, whose eyes see into our minds. The fifth one, this man cheated me. I trusted him. This man whom I trusted cheated me. So now we go to the next question, which is using negatives for emphasis. Sentences with the words such as no, not or nothing show the absence of something or they contradict something. This year we will have no corn. That means corn will be absent. The hail left nothing. That means a crop is absent. There aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. So it contradicts the idea. When people think rain is falling, somebody thinks that they are coins. But here, sometimes negative words are used to emphasize an idea. Look at these three sentences. The first one is, Lencho has done nothing else but see the sky. That means he has done only this. So it's emphasizing that. Then the man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. That means this was the sole reason for him going out. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. That means he showed no surprise at all. So, the sentences in the story with negative words which express the following ideas emphatically are: the first one, the tree lost all their leaves. The tree, not a leaf, that means this is on page number 4. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The second sentence, the letter was addressed to God Himself. This sentence we will find on page number 5. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Then the third sentence, the postman saw this address for the first time in his career. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. Then the last topic of this lesson is metaphor. The word metaphor comes from the Greek word meaning transfer. Metaphors compare two things or ideas. A quality or feature of one thing is transferred to another. For example, the legs of a table. Now a table does not walk, right? Our legs support our body and we use them in order to walk. So when we say legs of the table, we mean the object that supports the table is described as a leg. Then the heart of a city. Now heart is a very important organ of our body. It is used to describe the central area of a city. So it's the most important part of the city. In the same way, now here in this exercise, you have the object, you have the metaphor and the quality or the feeling that is compared. Now metaphor is also a figure of speech that we will be learning about this year. The first one is cloud. The metaphor is huge mountains of clouds. That means the hugeness of mountains is compared to the clouds. Then raindrops. Raindrops were, the metaphor is, they are described as being new coins. The value of the rain is compared to money because the rain, when it came, would give Lencho a very good crop and that would give him a lot of money. The hailstones are described as frozen pearls, that is white ice pieces looking like ornamental stones. Then the fourth one is locusts. Locusts are insects, but here the metaphor is they have come like a plague. A plague is like a sickness or an epidemic, but here locusts came like the disease, plague very quickly, and they normally kill many people. But here the last one is farmer. Lencho was an ox of a man. That means he was as strong as an ox. He was not only very strong, but he worked extremely hard. Then, listening. Listen, listen to the letter given under in this lesson read out by the teacher on audio tape. So listening, the listening exercise doesn't have to be done for the time being. When we do letter writing, we will come back to this. So children, I do hope this lesson is clear. In case you have any doubts, you can contact me. So read the lesson once or twice and then answer your questions and go through. You will also be following, buying the camp. So I want you to go through the lesson, go through the exercises given, the word building exercises given, and the grammar that is given after the lesson. Okay. Uh, Thank you for listening and have a nice day.